Hello. As you can see, I have done a revamp of my Wild Spirit Tarot, which might surprise you as much as it surprised me, because I did not think I could do this under the circumstances. It's only been 5 and a bit weeks since I lost my long-term partner and soul love, Gary, and I did not think I would be doing anything like this. But I gave it a go. And it is, in fact, the revamp of, you'll notice in this video, I am wearing my fishnet gloves to try and hide my manky fingers. I tried that in my unboxing of my Russian tarot video, but they did not work. I hope they will in this one. I actually bought these for Gary's funeral because I was ashamed of people seeing my hands, but in the end I was too overcome with grief to worry about whether anybody saw anything at all, frankly, so I thought they might come in useful for video making instead. So I have revamped Mother Nature, Spirit of Love, who is the Empress card from the Wild Spirit original deck. There she be. Now, here is on the right we have, if I hold it up here, so on the right we have the original, and in the centre we have the printed version, which brings me so much disappointment every time I print something out, because I've just lost all the detail and all the colour that I put into the original. So let's look at the original first, and then we can compare the two, and you can see how much detailing the printing has lost as we come across here. I haven't done one of these for a while, and I'm hardly, I was going to say hardly in my right mind. I'm hardly in my right spirit. I'm not emotionally equipped to be making videos at the moment, probably, and I should go away and lie down quietly in a dark corner and not bother anybody, but I thought it was the best thing to try and get on with something that I do, and so here I am, having done one. Yes, I'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. So, I am, considering the situation I've done it in, I am overall happy with how this has come out. We're looking at the original here, so it's nice and bold and bright and detailed. And the colours are lovely, which of course you will lose when you're looking at it through your screen because they go all bleachy. But as usual, I will try and put a copy on Twitter so you can see it a bit better that way. Twitter have got a little bit strange lately. You used to be able to go on there and look at anything without signing in, and now they're trying to block people who look at more than a few posts without signing in. So if this one's at the top of my list almost, you should be able to see it before they block you off if you're not a member of Twitter. And I don't blame you for not being a member of Twitter. I am only a member of Twitter because I want to put my artwork on there, having no website to my name at present, or at least I have one, but it's so out of date. I say this all the time, don't I? It's now about 8 years out of date, I think, so it's not much use really, but there it stays in the great web of things in the ether. One day it will disappear, but it hasn't yet, I don't think. Anyway, here we have our lovely lady. Now let's have a look at how she used to look. Obviously, with the revamps, I'm going to be working in my new and hopefully improved style. So I like this card, but it is in the old style with the harder lines. Everything is much more kind of graphic in terms of it being heavily outlined, and of course it's not so naturalistic and perhaps not so realistic as my work is today. So this is what she looks like now. My aim was to have her of a sort of indeterminate race, so that she doesn't really matter actually to saying that. I wanted her to be slightly darker skinned. That's how I envisaged her. That's how she used to be in the original. But the most important thing was that she had this particular look about her, which was gentle and yet nurturing at the same time, and wild and yet not abandoned, so that you could feel some sort of sense of safety and protection. Now that is why we always had, in the original, we had the swans and the cygnets, and we have the swans and the cygnets again, with the swan lifting her protective wing over her brood. Very much the energy of what this Mother Nature Empress card is about, as we know. So I have changed the name of it though, but I'll come to that in a minute. So there she is in my original version. Hopefully that is not getting too bleached out. In the sky we have a swift over here and a swift over there. I was thinking about the sort of season of the year where this might be appropriate. I did some research into it, and people have very different ideas. Some people think that the Empress is a spring, associated with spring because of birth. Some people think it's more like a Lammas because of the harvest. I was tending to go with that, but there's nothing particular in here that would make you think that it wasn't springtime. So you can have either or. I haven't made it too deliberately Lammassy, but that was my ethos. And again, you've got this kind of lovely sort of dusky sky, which could equally be a sunrise, because it could be the moments before sunrise. It's ambiguous. I don't want to be reading, making it too prescriptive, but it has that lovely kind of ethereal golden aspect to it. There's lots of in the original here, which I can see and you can't see clearly. There's lots of purples and apricots and indigo and sort of opposite colours that make things look really beautiful. I noticed that when I was out walking with Gary a while ago, how the winter skies, the autumn skies, when the light was turning, when it was getting dusky, the reason it looks so spectacular is because the colours were opposites. So you get that very pale blue with the apricot next to it, which would be almost like an opposite, the blue and the orange. So yes, and then it also works with the violet. So all of these colours, trying to make it look beautiful, because I wanted this to be beautiful. It was very important to me that I didn't pick a card that was going to be difficult, and I wanted to make something look lovely, to make something lovely out of what I am feeling. That it'd be quite easy to have picked something that was darker and more suited to my mood, but I deliberately chose something that wasn't, that was beautiful and full of joy and hope and bright colours and hopefully some subtlety as well. Most of the elements of the original are in this card. We have the two rabbits, only they're in slightly different positions now. We have the two little sprites in the background to the left, with a sprite on the right sitting next to the lady, and we have the flowers, the poppies and so forth. In this one we've got a cornflower as well, which might be a little bit Lammassy, but never mind, and two dandelions. So I think the elements are still there, and there are some geese flying, which could happen at any time of year, but does happen in the autumn. I do have a little bit of a predilection for the autumn and the winter, so do forgive me for that. But it does make for such lovely colours. Plain blue sky may be wonderful for people, but it is not as interesting artistically as a beautiful twilight. Personally speaking, I'm looking for things that are going to really stand out, and of course there'll be times when there'll be kind of a blue sky with fluffy clouds in it, but this one I just want to evoke something that is really beyond time, that is almost otherworldly, and hopefully I have managed to do that. I am overall happy with the artistic content, although obviously every single thing I do can be improved and improved and improved, but generally I think I've done pretty okay on this one. Again, all things considered, if you compare it to the one next to it, which is the printed version, you'll see how much of that beautiful vivid colour has been lost already. If I go in here, you can see all the details of the reeds that I've done along and all the reeds coming up here. There's lots of very fine lines, and when you get to the printed version you just kind of get sort of smush and vague suggestions, which is very sad. But so I want you to see that when I do it myself with my pencils, there's a lot of work gone into making it look very crisp and sharp and detailed, important, and getting all those lovely colours in, and the expressions on the faces of the little people. Not so happy with the face of that one because it was based more on the one that I'd done originally, and I didn't have enough detailing really to add in. But these two I was able to do from scratch, and they're much more kind of, well, I like them better anyway. You're going to notice that I am not myself, although I don't know whether I'm ever myself in my videos, because I'm always searching for words that normally come quite fluently to me. Yes, I am not a right poppy. I am really not a right poppy, and I don't know whether I'll ever be again. This is the first piece of art, and I've been drawing since I remember drawing when I was 3 years old. I remember I was 3 years old because it was 1969, and there was a really sort of blurry, jumpy, black and white TV in the corner of the room showing the supposed moon landings on it. So I know I was 3. So I know that I've been drawing intensely because I was trying to draw astronauts. I was drawing since I was 3. I think this is the first piece I've ever done in all my years, which is quite a lot of years now, as I am in my 5th decade, and it's the only piece that has not brought me any joy. I am satisfied with it, and I did it. It's the only piece of artwork that I have not found joy in, or did not get lost in, and actually was getting quite tired of, because I kept crying. I kept crying and having to move away from it because I didn't want to blotch it. But it did not bring me the joy that my work has always brought me, and I did not get lost in it, which is very worrying. I am being honest with you. It's the authentic Poppy here, remember, and not some sort of hello, which is fine. But I've been honest quite a lot in my recent videos, and I don't see any reason to go back on that now. So yes, you know my personal circumstances if you've been interested. If you're not interested, then just look at the work, and that's fine too. It doesn't matter either way. Take what you want from it. But it's been hard because I have not, it's worried me. It worries me a lot. I wonder how I'm ever going to do another one, to be honest. And I'm very proud that I finished this one, and that you can't, hopefully, you'll be the judge of that, but hopefully you can't tell how I felt about it while I was doing it. I kind of tried to put myself aside and just do it and do my best. If I wasn't doing my best, I would have just given up. But I did my best, but my heart was not in it. And I hope that does not show. If it does show, I'll have to do it again. And hope that there'll be a point when my heart can be in it. It's very strange when you've dedicated your whole life. People have assumed that my art will keep me going because there's nobody else left to keep me going. So it'll just have to be my art. Well, I'm afraid that doesn't seem to be enough, really. Maybe it will in the future, but at the moment it's just not. When my parents passed away, I kind of launched myself into doing the sorrow tree, and that kind of absorbed me, but this just hasn't worked. I think the level of grief that I'm now at with all the losses and now this most profound shock, it's just made me question everything. So yes, anyway, I did it, and I hope you like it. And here would be, this is the printed version, so it's lost all that lovely crispness and all the beautiful subtle colours, but it's still quite nice. So this will be Wild Woman. Now you think, Wild Woman, is that a good name for the Empress? Well, it's wild, and in the terms of this tarot, the wild does not mean like, you know, thrashing abandon. It means natural, untamed, as nature intended woman. That's what it means. It doesn't mean anything kind of... I mean, it can do. There will be times when it will apply to that, but it doesn't... It can... The word wild can be misinterpreted just as purely, you know, something out of control. It's not. It's of the wild. It's as... It's natural, yeah. So I've put wild woman, loving spirit, because I decided, and hopefully you will agree with this, that all the wild spirit cards should now have references to wild and spirit in the titles, which is going to be a little bit of a challenge if I continue with this, but so far it's okay. Now I had to change Mr. Wildman, who is the Emperor, because he's kind of like, although he's not literally her partner, he is her partner in the sense of the tarot, so I've had to change him to Wild Man, protective spirit. So we've got protective spirit and loving spirit, which I think goes very well. Let me know what you think about that. We're not talking about him anyway, we've done him. Maybe we'll come back to him another day. I just wanted to show you these really. I'll just hold them together so you can see the differences between the print and that. Now normally I would be going on and on and on and on. Just had everything knocked out of me. I have made some very personal videos which I am going to be brave enough to put up, which sort of go into why it's just what's happened is just everything that I thought was going to happen, all my plans, all my dreams, all my hopes, my partner, my best friend, everything, all gone. So I'm just totally adrift. And the reason I did this was to try and anchor myself back in the only thing that I've ever anchored myself in, which is my work. Now, I don't want to go down here, but, you know, it concerns me, and I do question whether there will be another one. Hope so. Watch the space. It's not about, I've said this in other videos, it's not about being strong. I am so strong. If I wasn't strong, I couldn't have put up with all the things I've put up with. And I'm not just talking about physical pain. The last few years on my own, the things I've put up, I know I'm strong. I am strong and I am resilient, but I am heartbroken and I am weary in my spirit. And that's a whole different ball game. Absolutely is, you know. I don't want this to be negative because I've done something beautiful here, and so, you know, I don't want to dwell on that, but I am being honest. And I had a little realisation that I just wanted to share with you that I mentioned in some other videos. In fact, it's kind of a bee in my bonnet thing about mental health and how people think that your mental health has been affected, but no, it's not. I'm completely strong in my if you want to call it mental health, I am totally, you know, okay in that department. Thank you. I've just explained the things that are hurting and that are broken and that are worn out and so forth, and they're nothing to do with my brain in my skull. I think people just go back to mental health because they're the people that just think that we are a body, and I don't think we're just a body. So that's why mental health to me just seems like a complete load of tosh, because I am an eternal being having an experience as Poppy. It's a pretty rubbish experience just at the moment, but still it is an experience and it's mine. So anybody that's kind of medically orientated, in fact I'd say quite a large percentage of the population, just believe that we are a physical thing, and therefore they're bound to think about mental health because everything in their view comes from your brain. Everything is a brain orientated thing, where for me it comes from my essence, from my spirit. I hate that word, keep saying it. It comes from my eternal essence. That and my poor heart are the things that are being affected. But if you just think that, like my friend Sue, my darling friend Sue, who passed away last year, she was adamant that she used to be a pagan and various things, and then she kind of went to be the biggest atheist on the planet and turned into kind of science is everything. And I think that science and religion are both two ends of a stick, and if you're looking at the stick, you're not looking at what else is around it, which is all that is. And we couldn't really have conversations about that. Gary was the only person I could talk to about deep things, and that's why it's the most terrible wrench and loss to me, having that connection severed, because he understood completely that we are not just a meat puppet with a brain. Yes, it was terrible. I could not have had this conversation. She would purely have been referring to my mental health at this stage, because even though she had kind of had some sort of, shall we call it a spiritual path at some point, she'd gone completely the other way and thought that there were only two ways to go, like one end of the stick or the other end of the stick. That, you know, to me it's like, well, what is the stick? Look at the stick in its entirety. What is the stick floating in? What is all around the stick? You know, don't just look at the stick. The stick isn't important. The stick is the thing that we're given in life, basically, by education and the media and everything else. Really, the stick is the thing. That's all there is, mate. You get the stick, you get religion, or you get science. Well, I don't. I get what's around the stick. And it's like, yeah, so what's bothering me is my essence's well-being. And I guess it must be functioning because it's produced this, and I'm glad it's produced this, because if it hadn't, I'd be in even more trouble, I think. So, yeah, I hope that this work has not transmitted any of my sadness into it. I mean, there's a certain wistfulness about it, but she's also very, very happy and contented and calm. Things that I do not feel. So I think I can always put myself aside. It's like I can always do something for somebody else. I can always put my own feelings aside, and I can always sort of get into their feelings and put my own feelings aside. That empathy thing again. And I can have empathy for this lady, and that's how I managed to draw her and put life into her and create her without it just being an echo of my own feelings. I hope that's true. Let me know what you think. I really am putting myself out into the internet-y sphere much more than I ever wanted to. I wanted it to be purely about the work, but you know, you just got to go with the challenges, and this challenge has been, well, you're going to have to open up a bit more, popular. No one's going to really know what you're talking about, and they're going to wonder why you're doing certain things and why you're not doing certain things, and why you're not yourself. So, yeah, anyway, that's enough. There's a whole pile of printed ones here. Anybody want one? Yes, they just don't come out well. They don't come out well, and I'm hoping that when I save it, it will. So, I hope you've seen enough of our lovely Empress lady. Don't know whether you're getting it all in, because I can't. I'm holding out, but I can't see. So I shall say goodbye. I love you lots. Thank you for sticking with me. Please carry on watching if you can bear to. Some of the videos you're not going to want to. Some of it, just don't. Just don't. Just stick with the art. You don't need to listen to me rambling on about things. There are some very lovely, good, compassionate, kind people out there, I know. You are the people I'm talking to. You supportive, loving people. And everybody else, I hope, will leave me alone. Okay, lots of love for all our relations as ever. Take care. Stay free. Bye.